Hi everyone, I'm Carol Keller, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Illinois in the US, coming to you today with a couple of alternatives to this month's paper pumpkin kit, which is called Hope Box, and I hope you enjoy them. I love the color palette of this box, of this set of cards, and it was really fun to work with. So I am going to turn my camera around so that we can get started, and I'll show you the projects. All right, and here is the beautiful, distinctive box that the kit comes in. I love the colors. This, like I said, is a really favorite color palette of mine. And there is, as always, an instruction booklet. And the first thing that I always do is double check that everything is here. There's a beautiful roll of ribbon in Blackberry Bliss and a Blackberry Bliss ink spot. Of course, the wonderful stamp set. It's got some flowers and a couple of butterflies, a bunch of sentiments that we will be using today. And then there's a little instruction flyer that shows you kind of what to do with the box if you do want to make it into a hope box. And that's what the ribbon is for. And I'll show you there are some distinctive pieces for that. But if you don't want to do the hope box, that is okay. We're going to do some alternatives. So again, you just make sure everything is there that you need, that's supposed to be in the kit. And then I'm going to show you the alternatives, or excuse me, I'm going to show you the cards that the kit is meant to make. Here is one, Always Hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. And then Just a Note of Hope. And this one is, well, they're all my favorites because I love the color palette, but I really like this one, Where There Is Hope, There Is Faith. I love the die cut that is used for that one. And I have, like I said, come up with a couple of alternatives. Here is the first one, and it uses the strips from this card and just cut in half. So I'm going to show you how we do that. And it is a floating strips card, so hopefully you can see that there's actually a window sheet there. And other than the window sheet, this card can be made with everything that comes in the kit. So I'm going to show you right away how we do that. So we are starting with one of the card bases that comes in the kit. This one is Pool Party. I'm just giving it a burnish with my bone folder so that it will lie flat. And then I have taken all of the banners that are used to make the card that I showed you earlier, and we are going to just cut them all in half and use them as is, because I like the fact that there were different angles rather than straightening them, but you obviously have your choice of doing it either way. So I'm bringing in my Stampin' Trimmer, and all I'm doing is lining each one of them up with the top where it fits right there, and making sure that on the bottom the point is right in the track, the cutting track, and then slicing them. And so now we've got 8 strips to use, and I cut a window sheet. And so the strips end up being 3/4 of an inch long, or 3/4 of an inch, or 8.2 centimeters. So you want your window sheet to be around that length. So I've cut this one to 3 1/4 inches by 5 inches, or 8.2 centimeters by 12.7. And you will see as we go along that the strips are we're gonna start right at the top, and then it's gonna overlap the bottom just a little bit, and that's okay. And a little hint, if you don't have window sheets, you can also use from your stamp sets. When you get the photopolymer stamps, they come on a sheet that's a little bit bigger than this, and the stamps are on there, and now the idea is that you put them in the case. Let me show you. So for example, the Color and Contour is a photopolymer stamp set, and when you receive them, the stamps are on a sheet like this. There's a very sort of flimsy top sheet, but then the bottom one is nice and sturdy, so you could use that for your window sheet, because the idea is that you will take the stamps off of here and put them in the case like this, and then that's all you will need. So I'm not going to do that right now, but like I said, that bottom sheet in a pinch can be used as a window sheet. So I've got my window sheet, like I said, it's cut down to 3 1/4 inches by 5 or 8.2 centimeters by 12.7. And we're going to do it, well, I'm going to do it this way so that it's easy to set them up. And so what I did was basically align them in the order that I thought looked kind of pleasing. So I'm going to do that again to match up what I've done already over here, but you don't have to. You can do it randomly. You know, it's completely up to you. But that was just the way I liked it, and I alternated. So if I did it with one color up here on the left, I did the other color on the right. So I turned them around. Oh, actually that means this one should go this way, and this way, and this way. And so again, that's just how I decided to do it. You can do it any way you would like. And you can use multi-purpose liquid glue, but I'm just using my Stampin' Seal because I find that to be the easiest and least messy. And I'm using my grid paper to line it up to make sure that it's straight. And so for starters, the points go really end to end on the window sheet. So you probably can't see it, but they go end to end on the window sheet. And then I'm gonna use just under one space to space out the strips. So again, putting some more Stampin' Seal, and so lining it up just underneath that line on the grid paper, and then just covering up the next one. Again, making sure, whoops, that it's at the edge. And the same thing for each one. So I will fast forward through this to get all the strips on here. And so when you put the last one on, there's a little bit of overlap off of the sheet, but that's not really going to matter for the project. And then we're simply going to take, you can use the dimensionals that come in the kit if you would like, or I am using our foam adhesive strips because they fit nicely. And this one I know is a little bit long. I'm going to give that a little snip, because that's a tiny bit long. And I did not put it on every single strip, but I'm going to put it on several. So I'm going to take this sheet off and use the whole thing, basically just spacing it out along maybe every other strip or so that it doesn't sag or anything. You could even do every one if you wanted. And I'm definitely going to do one at the bottom because I want to make sure it's going to be held in place. So I am going to do one more, and I'm just going to eyeball this one and cut it to the length I need. And we'll put that one here. And then we simply peel off the paper from each one and then place it on the card. And so there it is, floating on the top of the card. I love that technique. I actually did another card recently. Here is the card I did using that technique, just using it on a diagonal instead of doing it vertically. You could also do it horizontally. And on this one, I used one of our Scallop Contours dies to cut it out, whereas on this one, I just used the plain window sheet. So you have lots of options for how to do that floating strip technique. And actually on this one, I also did an inlay. So that's an addition that you can do as well. All sorts of options for cards that you can create. But that is the base. And then I'm going to bring in another part of the kit, the circles, and my Blackberry Bliss ink pad. And then I'm bringing in the Just a Note of Hope stamp, and we'll stamp that in the center. And then I'm going to bring in a scrap because we're going to do some inking with our blending brush. And again, I'm using the Blackberry Bliss ink still, and one of my blending brushes. I have one blending brush dedicated for every color: green, blue, pink, purple, yellow, etc. And I'm just going to get a little bit of ink on there because I wanted to soften the whiteness of the background. So usually it's best to start off because there's usually sort of more ink at the beginning, and I want just a little bit of softness, and I'm going over the whole thing to just give it that little bit of softness. And I think I'll add just a little bit more. You can add as much or as little color as you would like, but I like the way it softens it up. And then to clean your brush, you simply wipe it on your grid paper. And then on the inside, we're going to do a little more stamping. So let's bring that card in. Again, still working with the Blackberry Bliss. For the inside sentiment, I'm using Where There Is Faith, Miracles Happen. And now I'm taking the little butterfly from the set. There are two. This is the small one. And all I'm going to do is ink up from the edge once, twice, 3 times without re-inking. And I did the same thing here, but I'm going to do it, I think, over on this edge this time, all the way over on the left edge. And there is the inside then all completed. And our stamping is done. So for the next part, again, I'm bringing in elements from the kit. And these are actually elements that are included to make the Hope box. So the big butterfly is to decorate the front. The ribbon that we're going to use is to wrap around the box. And there's a tag, and I love this. This also is meant to go across the top, and you can see it's in 3 languages, English, French, and German. And I like this because I was thinking that I would take it out and just cut it apart, because obviously it's too long to fit across the card that way. But if you cut it apart, always hope, because you never know what tomorrow will bring. Maybe cut it into 3 sections or 4, however you want to do it, and then stagger it on the front of your card. I think that would look really cute. Obviously a tag that you can use, but for today, we are taking these elements. Even this butterfly, it fits perfectly on a card front, so that would make a beautiful card that you wouldn't even really have to do anything else with. But for me, I am using the flower and the butterflies, the flowers and the butterfly. And so now all I'm going to do is take my glue dots, and again, glue dots come in the kit. And our glue dots now come, they used to come on the roll this way, now they come this way, so I'm still adjusting to that. So taking a little bit of getting used to doing something different, but we're going to put that up here, and you can even kind of fluff the wings up a little bit. And then the same thing for this one. I think actually, I take it back. For these two, I'm using my multi-purpose liquid glue just because they are so narrow. So I'm going to bring in my silicone craft sheet and some multi-purpose liquid glue. Must be getting down to the end. There we go. It gets used quite a bit, as well as my Stampin' Seal. And I'm going to take a sponge that I have dedicated just for glue. And I inked around the edges with the idea, because I want it to stick down, but with the idea that maybe you could pull the middle up. And if you can, you can. And if you can't, you can't. We'll see how it looks at the end. Then just layering that in the corner. And the same thing with the yellow flower. And that I'm just inking all around. The ink is nice and strong, so if it's inked all around the flower, it will adhere very well. Whoops, even to my fingers. And overlap that a little bit. And so let's see if we can still pull up the middle a little bit, but you don't need to. It does give it a little bit more dimension. And then for our sentiment, I put some ribbon behind it. So again, this ribbon is very wide. All I did was cut a section off with my paper snips and then cut it in half. So I kind of tried to use my grid paper a little bit as a guide. It looks like it's about 1 inch wide. But I wasn't gonna stress with trying to do it exactly because I don't think it matters. I don't think it shows, but give it your best estimate of halfway. And it will fray a little bit. As you can see, it did on the end, but we'll clean that up too, or we'll probably just grab the other end right now. But when you use it, you can just clean it up. And then I'm folding it in half, and I want the non-frayed edge to kind of be on the left, because then if it does fray a little bit, you can cover it up with the sentiment. And I'm using glue dots to adhere it again, adhere the layers to each other, and also adhere the ribbon to the card. So let's see, glue dot and a little bit of overlap like that. And then, yeah, there are a lot of little bits that get frayed and drop, but that's not a big deal. And I'm going to put a couple on the back so that I can make sure it adheres, because those are going to be hidden underneath. We'll see where the sentiment's going to go, about there. So we'll lay it about there. And then several more glue dots, or you could use your multi-purpose liquid glue or your Stampin' Seal, but I'm going to put the glue dots since I have them here. So you can see I have several on the back, and we're just going to pull that in. We'll do it this way. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to make it a little longer. This one's a little bit short. I'm going to make one a little bit longer because I want it to hang down underneath that tag. And luckily there's plenty of ribbon. And the other thing I'm going to do, actually, which I forgot to do, is before I put it down, I'm going to trim the corners at an angle. So I just think that looks prettier. A little more of an angle on this side. And yeah, hopefully that's a little bit longer. And we've got some glue dots again. Oh yeah, that's going to be much better. So there's a little bit more overlap. So I want those to show. And then I think we'll put another glue dot on this side to make sure that it holds down the tag. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's not going to go anywhere. And that is it. That is our first card. I want to show you too the envelopes. They're absolutely gorgeous. So you can choose whichever one. There are 3 designs. Whichever one you would like to go with the card. I'd probably choose the butterflies. So that is card number 1. And here is the second card. And now for this one, I did use some extra accessories, but I did also start with the card base that comes in the kit. So we're starting with one of the card bases. And again, just burnishing it with my bone folder. And I have 2 of the pieces that also go in the kit, one that's meant to go with this card, I believe, and one that goes with another one. So I'm kind of mixing and matching because I love the color palette. It works well together. And I'm putting both layers on with my Stampin' Seal. And I decided to turn it at an angle to give it a little more interest. And then centering this one. And now for the tag. Since there were several that come in the kit and they come in the different languages, I wanted to find a way to use the ones that, you know, I'm not going to send anyone a card in French, but I wanted to be able to use the tag, and they're all the same size. So all I did was turn it over, and I'm going to bring my strap in again. And this time we are going to do some stamping first. And a little tip, when you're putting your photopolymer stamps and you want them to be straight, to put them on the block, lay them down on your grid paper first and then pick it up so it will be straight. Sometimes if you put it on with your hands, it tends to want to turn. But we are actually going to start off with the stamp that says Hope. And we'll do that, like I said, in Bermuda Bay, right in the center. And next we're going to bring in Melon Mambo for the top part of the sentiment, which says where there is. And we're going to keep that, we're going to start that right on the left. And for the other part of the sentiment, we're going to use Blackberry Bliss. And then I'm going to keep the ink pad out because now we're going to color, and I'm going to do it a little bit differently from the way I did it here. I used Blackberry Bliss and then Melon Mambo and then the Bermuda Bay, but I didn't feel like there was enough distinction between the Blackberry Bliss and the Melon Mambo, so I'm going to use the Blackberry Bliss, or I'm going to use the Bermuda Bay in the middle. So we will still start with the Blackberry Bliss on one end, and I'm going to do it at an angle this time, which I didn't earlier. And just kind of angle it. And maybe make it a little bit more distinctive, a little darker than I did, so that it's distinguished from the Bermuda, or from the Melon Mambo. And now I'm going to bring in a different blending brush and my Bermuda Bay. And you just need a really light touch. And I'm not going to really overlap the colors that much because I don't want them to be muddied. I want them to be the three distinct colors that we're using. So I'm going to kind of bring it right up to the edge of where that Blackberry Bliss is. Maybe a little bit more. And then last but not least, the Melon Mambo. I'm going to flip it over just because it's easier. And we'll do that last little strip. Oh yeah, I think that looks better. I like that. And I probably used a little bit more color than I did the first time. And again, personal preference. So there's our tag, and that I actually will put on right away. We're going to put that on with some dimensionals. We're going to put that a little bit up from the bottom, not quite halfway, a little bit higher. All right, and then next I die cut some butterflies using the Brilliant Wings dies, and I'm going to show you a little bit. This is the set, and I'm going to show you a little bit how I did it. For the black, I used the detailed butterflies, so I chose 3 of them. I believe this one, and this one, and cut them out with some adhesive sheets on the back so that they will stick to the paper underneath. So I used the basic black for that. And I cut out 3 of them. And I still have them kind of layered there. And then the next step is I took my rainbow glimmer paper, which I've been dying to use and haven't even used yet, amazingly. And I cut out the same 3 butterflies, but this time I used this die, and you can see the butterflies are all attached. So I just basically cut a strip that was as wide as the butterfly I wanted to cut. So if I were cutting this one, I would get a strip and put it like this and run it through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And I did the same thing with all 3. I used all 3 of these butterflies. And so again, the companion ones are the ones that are more detailed, and so that we could layer them together. So let me move this out of the way. And this is what I ended up with. And I changed the colors up a little bit for this one, just of which butterfly is which color. So obviously it doesn't matter. And because I have the adhesive sheets on the back, I would suggest taking your Take Your Pick tool and poking out some of the pieces inside. And then if some of the rest of them won't come out, you can usually peel back the strip and that will help. So I will do that off camera and be right back. And so you just want to make sure that all of these little pieces are off of the back so that it sticks, and then you're going to layer it on your butterfly that you die cut from the glimmer paper. And then give it a good press. Make sure that it sticks, and then do the same thing with the other 2. All right, and here we have all 3 butterflies layered, and I just kind of put the wings up again a little bit to give them some dimension. And we're going to put glue dots down the center of each one. 2 or 3 on each of them, and then we will layer them on the card. And just making sure that they don't go past the edges of the card. And then I'm taking the rest of the butterflies from the kit and doing the same thing with a glue dot on the back of each one. And so we have all our butterflies. And then for the inside, since it says where there is hope, there is faith, we're going to use that same stamp from earlier that says where there is faith, miracles happen. And we're going to stamp that in Bermuda Bay. And now I'm taking that small butterfly stamp again, and I'm going to bring in my scrap, because this time we're going to stamp off. We're going to do 1 butterfly in each of the 3 colors. We'll do 1 here. And make sure you clean your stamp in between. And the same thing with the Melon Mambo. And last but not least with the Blackberry Bliss. And so there we have our inside completed. And the only thing left to add is some bling. So I've got the sequins, this adhesive back sequins from the kit. And I've got the putty end of my Take Your Pick tool. And just putting a few here and there around the card to draw the eye. And there we have our second completed card. I hope you like it. I hope you like both of my alternatives for today. I did want to show one more thing, a couple more things. One is this beautiful detailed die cut that is used for one of the cards. It's so pretty, and the card that it goes on has images behind it. I'll show you. So when you layer it, it gives definition. So I just thought that was so pretty. I wanted to use it just as is. And so I did not use this die cut, but you certainly could for a different card. And there are also a couple of these white squares. There are actually 3 of them that go with the card that has the strips on that we used for the first card, the first alternative. And I wanted to show you that if you wanted to, you could also use this same technique here and layer some color, whatever colors you would like, but I'll use the same 3 since I have them handy. And you certainly could do even more than 3 colors if you wanted to, but then you could use this, and I guess I'll just show you part of it, but just to show you that you could do the same thing and layer. And maybe we want to bring in the Bermuda Bay again. And layer again. And so maybe we want to do a little more ink, I think. There we go. So maybe you want to do 5 colors and go into up to right where you've already stamped. You could actually go into that color and change it, but I don't want to do that in this case. Whoops. And we'll bring in the Melon Mambo. Oh, I like that. And then the Blackberry Bliss and kind of start over again. And then ending with the Bermuda Bay. And as easily as that, you have a background layer that you can use on a card that has, again, whatever colors you would like. You don't have to use the colors I used. You can use colors that complement your card so that, again, you're using everything from the kit. So thanks for joining me today. I so appreciate you watching every month. I try to do a paper pumpkin, at least 2 alternatives every month. So definitely, if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel. Click on the bell to be notified when I am posting or when I've posted a new video. Besides the paper pumpkin alternatives, I have a few home decor items, some tip videos, some technique videos, cards, scrapbook pages, whatever you might be interested, hopefully you will find there. And if you like what you see too, please comment. I love to receive comments or if you have questions as well, I'm happy to answer them. So thank you again, and I hope to see you again next month, if not sooner. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.